Now we get two more views on the climate change bill on the Senate floor. Chris Horner is a global warming skeptic and the author of the Politically Incorrect Guide to Global Warming. He joins us in Charlottesville, Virginia. Bill Becker is the executive director of the National Association of Clean Air Agencies. The association represents states and local environmental agencies across the country, some of which are already imposing greenhouse gas emissions caps. Thanks to both of you for joining us this evening. And Bill, your group has been supportive of this legislation, or at least the concept here. Why is this the right approach?
It's the right approach because we're facing a global climate crisis. We need to act quickly. Senators Boxer, Lieberman, and Warner have developed a very comprehensive, very fair approach in reducing greenhouse gases, which are threatening our planet by substantial emissions, and we hope that it's enacted soon.
Chris Horner, I've heard your arguments against some of these approaches in the past. Tell me why a cap-and-trade program is not the right approach here.
Well, several reasons. The first is, of course, if we must act now, I'm not sure why this would be proposed. It doesn't, according to anyone under any set of assumptions or scenarios, do anything climatically. But second, we have a European experiment that no one seems to want to talk about, which is a big red flag that it went as badly as we predicted it would. You have to remember something. In your interview with Senator Alexander, the concept about the U.S. being left behind was thrown out there. Let's look at the numbers. Since Kyoto was agreed in 1997, U.S. emissions are up 6.6%. Kyoto countries' emissions are up 21%. So it's not like these mandates and rationing and the gentle ministrations of bureaucrats will somehow bring down emissions if we could only apply them to the U.S. economy. In fact, we are doing the right thing. We are the world leader. I understand why organizations of bureaucrats and others with vested interests in this would support it, but there's no argument in favor of doing the rationing approach. If you really want to reduce emissions, tax them.
Bill, what's your take on what Chris had to say, and in particular this notion that in the interim since Kyoto was signed, America's doing, again, emissions are up, but those Kyoto countries are up as well.
Well, we should worry about our own country first. Our emissions are increasing, which is exactly why we need to take action now. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change almost unanimously concluded that we need to reduce emissions by close to 80% by 2050. We need to bring levels down first, and then we need to reduce them significantly. If we don't, they're expecting more drought, more storms. The Arctic is melting. The polar bear has become endangered, and we don't have the luxury to wait. Now, I think that the U.S. should show leadership and reduce emissions as quickly as possible. There have been reports, McKinsey, many others, that have said if you do it the right way, we can achieve significant reductions at little or no cost, because the solution for half of those reductions is energy efficiency, is doing things smarter. That will help subsidize the other half, and we'll be able to make great strides of reducing. We can't allow these emissions to go up every year and still address this climate problem.
The fact of the matter is, though, Bill, the proposed response is being tried. I mean, we're talking past each other, or Bill's not listening. The proposed response has been tried. It's a laboratory of Europe, and they're failing. We should learn from that. It doesn't apply. This isn't SO2 you can spray limestone over. This is the most ubiquitous byproduct, or actually intentional product, of combusting the largest source of our energy. So the fact of the matter is, we are doing the world-leading thing, and that is we are reducing the rate of growth of our emissions the best, combining it with some of the best economic growth in the country, all while our population is increasing faster than most of these Kyoto countries. So remember, their emissions are going up 3 times as fast as ours, and we want to adopt their approach. If we really must act now, it's a non sequitur to say we have to do this. It's sort of the old argument, well, we must do something, this is something, therefore we must do this. But it's a very expensive policy gesture.
Bill, your take, the European cap-and-trade approach, has it been a failure? The
European cap-and-trade approach was criticized the first year, as any first-year program, including the own Clean Air Act the first year, was criticized. And as they are becoming smarter in how to develop their program, they're making greater strides and they're doing much better. Our program imposes a cap and trade on the largest sectors of the economy, those that are contributing to the most greenhouse gas emissions. And the way to control those emissions is to control those emissions, is not to talk about it like your guest speaker, it's to control them. And what Senator Fox,
you're interrupting me. Let Bill finish the thought and then you'll be in.
What Senators Boxer, Lieberman, and Warner are doing is building upon a very successful cap-and-trade program in the acid rain program back in 1990, and allowing industries to trade amongst themselves and to seek the most cost-effective solution they can. We can't ignore this problem, and it sounds like your speaker wants to do that.
Chris, go ahead.
Okay, a few facts will be inconvenient for my colleague here. Europe's emissions did drop the first year, 0.8%. Notice I'm being specific. You can look up and check what I say. That happened to be due to a recession. The German economy turned around, and guess what? Europe's emissions went up that second year that their emissions trading scheme supposedly improved, and they went up the third year. In fact, Europe's emissions have gone up more faster than 2 out of every 3 years since they promised and began the name calling with Kyoto. And in fact, they've been regulating on this since 1991. And you'll notice that their emissions have gone up, I repeat, 3 times as fast as ours. Europe built on the SO2 program. They expressly said that. We are trying to adopt Europe's scheme. The only difference is, and I know Bill will agree with this, is Europe gave away all the ration coupons to industry in order to get their support. Lieberman-Warner only proposes giving away approximately half the ration coupons, and they've lost about half of their industry support. Not really a big surprise. So if you apply specifics to the discussion, no, Europe's scheme did not work. No, it did not get better the second year. In fact, emissions turned around and up. No, they're not reducing emissions. No, it's not a model for us. If you get specific, you lose the argument.
The Congress is not debating Europe. The Congress is debating the Boxer-Lieberman-Warner substitute. That substitute is far different than what Europe did, as you just mentioned. It does tax industries. It does provide for a lot of money to go toward greenhouse gas reduction strategies, for energy efficiency, for low-income compensation, for many of the problems that Europe and others have addressed, and we're going to ameliorate those problems.
Bill, Chris, we got to leave our discussion there. Certainly much more to debate with regard to this climate change bill. We're back here on Money and Politics after this short break. Taking a look at the SEC.